Hello, I'm Jennifer Rumsey. Welcome to your home, your haven. This episode, landscaping.
I'm Jon Chrisman. Welcome to the Chrisman home. This is my granddaughter, Anna, and I hope you enjoy the tour of our grounds. Wave, Anna.
This segment, I have Jon Gerst with Paragon Landscaping. Jon, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
This landscape is so beautiful. Tell us about your inspiration for this particular project.
Well, actually, when we first took a look at this site, it was in a very rough shape at the time. It actually had a block wall, some burning bush, some riprap stone for the hill application, and they had a water problem. And so with all of that, we looked at it and said, well, this is an opportunity for beauty. We got a steep slope here and a very plain looking landscape that can be totally transformed.
So lots of room for an improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. And so really as a designer, one of our first initiatives, really the highest compliment that we seek for or work toward is that we listened. And so starting out this project, we try to listen to what the owner here was after as an end result for their landscape, what kind of space they wanted, and the overall look for the property as well.
What was your inspiration for this? How did you get this particular space started?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we have kind of developed over the years is this accent stone with lush plantings hill application. And what you get in combining the two is a softening of the hill space with all the plant material, a lot of color during the lake season, and then all the stone work also adds as a retention feature. It will tie into the hill and tie the hill back a little bit. And then in addition to all the lush plantings, we've got a lot of root systems tying this hill back as well. So what it does is it makes it a display garden with just lots of color, lots of interest going on all season long.
Tell us how you chose this particular color palette.
Yeah, well, definitely the colors are all work together. You got your purples, your pinks, your whites, even some blues. However, part of the plant choices themselves were proven plants for lakeside climates like this. Things we know are going to perform well, are going to bloom with lots and lots of color. In addition to that, they're not going to die off with a hard winter, the harsh winds that come off the lake. So all this plant material was chosen because we've seen it do very well on a lake property.
How would a homeowner start investigating what plants would work well? Is that the time? Should they call in a professional? Are there some books, some magazines? Where do they begin that process?
Honestly, I would say start with going around properties on the lake that you enjoy looking at, plants that you've seen prove themselves in this climate. Again, that's partly what we do. We have had the opportunity to work with a number of properties, and we know what does well and what doesn't do well. And so I would do that. Start with the plants that they have proven themselves, that some of their neighbors have proven, and then if they want a layout and a design, bring in a professional designer to help them do that appropriately so that they don't have a lot of color one time of the year and then nothing the rest of the season. So that the professional can work with their plant choices, add in some others to get full season coverage in the blooming and the combination of color choices.
Excellent advice. So Jon, is this a do-it-yourself project?
In so many ways, Jen, it is not. There's so much specialized equipment and so much specialized design and intricate combination of materials on this project that a do-it-yourselfer would just not be capable of doing unless you had been seasoned and worked for a number of different contracting companies through the years. Really just to help you picture the process of this project, it started out like I had described with the block and riprap. That all had to be removed. We had to get down to the grade level, really the sea level, the lake level, to start pouring our footers. These footers and the poured walls that you see on this site were all engineered, designed by an engineer and certified. So with that, we then got a concrete contractor involved in the pouring of the walls and an excavator to drive H-piers on the tree well wall on this side, on the south side of the property. We wanted to preserve the trees as much as possible. And so in doing all that, we had to bring in skilled contractors to do the work on such a dangerous slope. And digging out all that material, you had a very deep chasm and a dangerous site for a period of time. So experience was key, and operational skills on the excavating machine, the bobcat, the mini excavator, all these sort of things to sling in the material or to get the material poured and formed and all put together.
All those efforts.
Yeah.
Jon, how would a homeowner plan their own project? How do they start, even on a small scale landscape project?
Well, we usually go over 3 steps for the first stage of a landscape project. One is we tell a customer or a homeowner to first establish a style, a taste, a preference for their property, whether that be formal, whether that be informal, whether it be cottagey, whether it be more industrial or more shaped, sculptured. These sort of things really start down the road of what do you want to incorporate into your landscape. The second step would be establish a budget. That is by far one of the most frustrating things for designers, to try to wrap their mind around the customer's wants and desires and needs and know how to rein that in. It gives us parameters. So a budget is key. And then the third thing would be really what kind of spaces are you after? What is the overall use of your property? Here we have obviously an array of spaces. They've used this property beautifully to incorporate so many lighting areas and view areas, and there's a variety of uses, eating and sunning and socializing. So these sort of things you want to cover before you even bring in a designer. And then call the designer to help you mold it all together and make it fit and make it what you want and laid out beautifully with quality materials. Well, right away I think of make sure that you're planting appropriately to what you can handle. If you know how to do roses, incorporate roses. If you know how to do perennials, definitely incorporate a lot of perennials. What we suggest is bringing in a professional for the things you're uncomfortable doing. If that is pruning, again, bring in a professional to do that, or fertilization, bring in a professional.
Talk to us more about pruning. What time of the year should we be doing that? What time should we be fertilizing? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, as far as timing of various services, definitely in the spring, it's an essential time to get things started off on the right foot. What we suggest is do a slow release fertilizer amongst your perennials and your flowering shrubs. This will allow them to be fed throughout the growing months. In addition to that, as time progresses, weeds are going to want to work into your beds. So what we suggest in the spring as well is apply a little bit of mulch. If it's a hardwood mulch, we suggest just 1 inch. This will keep your weeds down, freshen the beds, as well as only provide the amount that breaks down or decomposes each year.
Oh, so you don't have to remove it and put in more. It's just more sustainable.
Exactly. You're allowing that to break down, almost feed your plants in essence. And then on top of that, it will continue to keep the weeds down. So that's kind of all the spring. A pre-emergent type chemical can be applied then too in granular form. But that's kind of all your spring maintenance, something that you definitely want to do on a regular basis. As for pruning, that is something we typically do near the end of June, beginning of July. Basically the last couple weeks of June, it would be a good start date because the plants have pushed out their initial growth. They have done their first burst of growth, and then if you're on a 2 pruning program, or if you want to prune your plants twice, you would then prune them closer to the fall, later in the summer, pushing towards August at this point. Some people have plants that need a 3rd pruning that you could slip in there, but typically 1 to 2 prunings is a good approach, and end of June, beginning of July is where that essential one is typically done.